Greetings, family, and welcome to another episode of Dr. Mumbi's Spiritual Show. My name is Dr. mumbi.seraki. How you doing? How's everything going? Today, I really want to address one of the biggest mind F's that happened to us, especially if we came from narcissistic backgrounds, especially if we were the so-called black sheep of the family, which we now wear as a badge of honor. I want to try and explain to you and maybe engage you in a conversation in the comments about why they went to such great lengths to tarnish your name, to make you seem crazy, to put labels like you're an alcoholic, you're a prostitute, you're a hoe. Why did they do that? Because the most important thing, family, right now is our healing, is our restoration. The new world that we want to get to, the heaven that we want to get to, we're there now. But mentally, we just have to readjust. So it stops looking like the old world we've already left. And the only way to do that is through over inner and understanding why certain things happen to us. And reconciling with that. The way you make peace with that is through that over inner and understanding. And that is the most important thing, because as we release that, as we release all those things, we come more into who we really are. And a lot of us have transformed in how we look, in how we appear, because we've released so much of the narratives that really weren't connected to who we really are. Anyway, before I go into that, definitely consider supporting us on Patreon or on PayPal, family. And we've started a TikTok, Dr. Mumbi Spiritual, so definitely follow us on there. We're going to be diving way deeper on that platform as the seasons and times move forward. But we will still be uploading here as well. And Patreon gets everybody, everything. Anyway, and ahead of time. But you see, the disinheritance, family, is not so much a physical disinheritance. It's a spiritual and mental disinheritance. The war over your soul, they tried to make it about the land because the land was connected to you. So many of our grandparents left us houses, left us this, left us that, and it was taken away. But it was never about the physical. It was about siphoning or swapping our luck with theirs. There was a lot of, for at least the people who are on this ship together, there's been so much witchcraft and wizardry trying to take that divine essence, trying to take that immortality, trying to take that thing that can be taken, but to a lower being, they think they can have it. Which is why it took us so long to clue on to what was going on. But what I've realized is many abusers and many narcissists will launch a smear campaign on their children. They'll start young, family. I remember my cousins telling me, we used to hear these stories from your mom, and even our mom told us not to hang out with you because you'd be pregnant by 16 and you were hanging around funny people. And I remember when I heard this when I was 22, I was like, what? It hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, what? Because I'd just graduated. And so they were saying, wow, we were told to avoid you, but look how you've turned out. The smear campaign started from a young age because they were covering their asses. They were covering their backs. So that if you ever came out and complained, and said your mother was mistreating you, or your father was inappropriately touching you, or had, even in later stages, they'd say, but you know, that one is crazy. But you know how she's always thinking, she's always seeing things in her mind. And they had already been groomed. A lot of us family, we were psychic, we were seers. We were literally walking around with guardian angels, looking like we're talking to ourselves, but we're literally existing in both realms at the same time. We were high priests. We were not supposed to be in a common home. Just being totally misguided by one energy. And that thing of isolation, where you're now living either with your single mom or your mom and dad, and you're far away from the community. That was one of the most damaging things that has been done to our people. And for most of us, the defamation started when we had the courage at a young age to say, this is happening to me and it's not right. Daddy's doing this to me. Uncle so-and-so did this to me. And you went to tell your mother, or the one who was, you felt was the closest to you. And they literally told you to just suck it up. Or they looked at you like you were lying. Or after you told them that, all of a sudden the relationship became, and it changed, and you became like enemy number one. All of a sudden there was animosity towards you. And sadly, for a lot of us who grew up with single mothers back then, and this is not, I'm not hating on any current single mothers, but the single mothers that we grew up in, where in the 80s and the 90s, it was, at least most of the 80s, it was a terrible sin. Like, I think my mother was the first single mother in her community, and the first career woman as well, kind of, controlling her own money, but she was, and from coming from such a so-called elite community, it was heavily frowned upon. And it's like they don't talk about how, as children, we take on that negative image of our mothers comes down to us, especially as daughters. And then on top of it, when you have your own mother defaming your name. But they had to do it, family, to cover themselves. So that if anyone ever thought to listen to you when you complained, especially with the witchcraft and the wizardry, family. A lot of us grew up in strict religious homes where they tried to tell us witchcraft wasn't real, ancestors weren't real, magic was wicked. And they probably, because they were so brainwashed, they probably saw some of us as seers and psychics as having some demonic thing. Which is why they sent us they gave us to the Mzungus in their private schools. And look how now Princess Diana's brother is coming out and saying how he was sexually abused, or is it physically abused, in some of the private schools in the divided kingdom. If that was happening to the lords and ladies there, imagine what was happening to the gifted African children here. But that is a story for a whole other day. I think I'll definitely cover that, because there's so much that's been done in the boarding schools, and our mothers and fathers have either ignored it because of elitism or whatever. But the reason they defamed you, family, was so that they could steal from you, was so that if you ever got the courage to speak out, no one would believe you. You'd always be seen as the problem child. I remember trying to go to my mother's brothers and sisters to explain just how the kind of torture I was living in. I didn't know they were all in cahoots and had taken my grandmother's house that she had left me, and now that house is just decaying because it wasn't theirs. I didn't know they were in cahoots, but before I'd even start talking, I'd be told immediately how I'm a terrible person, I'm ungrateful, my mother has taken me to Muzungu schools, she's done this, she's done that, she's working so hard, I'm so difficult. And I just wonder, none of them had even had a conversation with me. None of them knew what was up. You go to weddings and people are giving you the side eye because there's stories that have gone round about you. And you're totally, I think the thing that hurt most for me when I found out was how clueless I'd been. And it actually happened, family, where I was in my early 30s and my mom needed surgery. And I literally sacrificed my career again because I wanted to be the child she loved. And I was constantly being told how I'd received all these things and I'd been ungrateful. And I was struggling in life, family. And I took her to the divided kingdom. It was actually just when I'd started my YouTube channel. And I took her to the divided kingdom for her surgery. And I had a big talk, so she left the hospital. She was having some knee surgery. She left the hospital. She came home. And I had a big talk that day. I think like over 200 people had bought tickets. It had been organized by Sister Shanice. Shout out. She has a show, Sister Shanice Show. And all of a sudden, my mom starts tripping. So her Rwandese friend, who had been friends with her and had known me since I was a baby, came to stay with us. And we were staying in this London apartment. And she started acting how she was in so much pain and I couldn't go to my talk. And family, I had been so groomed for this that I was literally about to call and say, I can't come. Bro Mohammed was waiting downstairs for me with the, Nation of Islam brothers to securely get me there and back. And I was there dealing with a narcissistic mother who had always sabotaged me. And the Rwandese friend was like, nah, Nancy, you need to stop this. I've even said my mother's name. Oh, well, people even comment about her in the comments. And she was like, Mumbi, you go, And she's like, I've got everything, you go. And it was crazy because I was so afraid. And that was one of the times I felt I was breaking free because in my mind, I was so messed up that I felt like I was committing the greatest sin. Only to come back and that day, her friend, and I hope I'm not putting her friend, jeopardizing their relationship, but her friend, who was the only friend, the only relation to my mother, the only person who has ever told me this, who told me, you overshare with your mom. And she's always telling us how you're sleeping with this person, sleeping with that person, how you're doing this, how you're doing that, how you were drunk, how you were high, how you were this, how you were that. And it had gone on for decades, family. And so, I feel so bad because it's just like I was so clueless. And I loved those people so, all of them, like the entire community, family. This was a community I was with every day, day in, day out, praying, wishing them well, smiling and laughing with people, being so bubbly. And behind the scenes, people thought I was this nasty, deranged person with mental issues and depression. It was crazy, family. I don't know if anyone has been through this. I don't even know why I'm crying because it's so over, But it's just I know someone out there is also going through the same thing. I'm so sorry for crying, family, because I'm not even feeling it now. But I remember how heartbroken I was. Not even at the lies. Not even that people would believe them because, for me, it's people, as a chosen one, as a black sheep, we've been misunderstood all our lives. And I'm actually good with that. I actually realize it's for my protection when people don't see you clearly and they misjudge you as this or that. It's actually great because you get to hide your greatness and just chill as a normal person. It's amazing. But that was what broke my mind, as in my mother has always been against me. It didn't start yesterday. It didn't start last year. And that's when now I had to come to terms with the possibility that some messed up things had happened to me, family. And I finally understood why when I went to my aunts for help, when I went to my uncle for help, when I went to her friends for help. Just, what it's like living with a narcissistic person. Today, you're the greatest person. Tomorrow, you're the worst. You're being gaslit. You're being withheld, like just crazy abuse. And then having been abused as a child and been drugged and been made to forget about that. And especially family when they came for my life. And that was political because I was exposing, the Masons and all this stuff. I totally take responsibility for that. But I'm so grateful I really didn't lose my mind. And the crazy thing is, when there's actually spell work that they do, confusion magic and stuff that they do, it's all mental, it's all intentions. The war is here. What they messed up was here. And as long as they keep here all jumbled up, they control you, or they think they do. They never thought any of us would wake up. They never thought any of us would own the shame of, okay, yeah, I was abused as a child, but I was a child. They never thought we'd have the courage to speak. But they made sure that just in case we did, they'd totally spoilt our reputation and made us appear a certain way. You know how many people I've had family come up to me and be like, oh my God, you were never what I thought you were. I mean, actually, that's one of the things that made me leave the evangelical church family. It's because people had known my mother and I was genuinely seeking an answer. This is now when I found out that the things that I think happened to me as a child actually happened. People would come to me and say, but you're not like what we were told you were. And these are the things that make a lot of us chosen ones introverts. Like we really don't want any friends. We're so comfortable just chilling on our own or with our significant other or with our significant other and our children. We're good. But all of that, and I think also the reason, and this is where I'm going to end it, a lot of these things, family, were not about them, which is why I'm like, crying is good because it means that thing was still here. It's come out now. And that's why we do these healing things. That's why we heal. That's why we talk it out. Please watch my show on how I say you have to talk it out to heal. But in conclusion, family, a lot of the negative things that happened to us was training. And I know it's said, and when it used to be said, because I was in so much pain and anguish, I never believed it. Our family and our parents trained us to be the generals of this generation. Because the generals are not going to be, some of them will be. Let me not take it away from them. Shout out Ibrahim Traore. I'd love to interview him. Some of us will be generals and presidents. But what we're looking for on the motherland is a mental and soul and spiritual healing. And what the defamation taught us, family, at least I hope, what it taught me, let me know what it taught you, but what it taught me to have my name maligned is I stopped correcting people. Because as I grew in popularity, as I grew in energy, some people didn't even do a show, but as you grow in energy, more and more people are drawn to you. I learned to keep my mouth shut. I learned to allow people to expose themselves, to show me who they really are. And it has been one of the things that has been one of my greatest spiritual and psychic defenses. Because people see you at their level. And people reveal a lot about who they think you are. And that will save your life because you'll over in and understand who you're dealing with. And that is a skill that no school, no priesthood can teach you. You literally have to live it and have people shame you, embarrass you, troll you, cancel you over and over again until you learn the lesson. Tuko pamoja.